This is Jonathan. Welcome to Life of Legacy, your key to a better life. Today we have Leneen Faith, a proud wife and mom of three. She's a kindergarten school teacher and the author of Peacebe Kids book series. It's a book series that teaches lessons on character like patience, cooperation, kindness, respect, compassion, all the things we want our kids to learn growing up so they can be responsible and respectful adults. It features a young boy who's about 6 years old named Peacebe and his magical watch named Heart Watch, who takes him on adventures and teaches him lessons. The book series is currently in about 34 schools and instills positive character traits in children at a young age. Thank you, Leneen, so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm excited.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I just want to say, currently, in a world where the ideas about how people should treat one another are kind of being distorted, and some might even say manipulated. Uh, it's very positive, and I was very uplifted by your book series. I had a chance to go through and actually read some of the books, and not only do they have meaningful, significant messages, but the characters are very memorable and relatable. The illustrations are phenomenal. It has vivid colors and creates this warm, happy mood. It makes me feel kind of like I'm on a Saturday morning cartoons. Maybe I'm dating myself because now cartoons are always on. But
I-
when I was a
That's
kid,
awesome.
yeah, when I was a kid, we had Saturday morning cartoons, and they were
Same
only
here.
on
Same
Saturday.
here.
Right.
Mhm.
So, I really looked forward to Saturday morning because I knew I was going to be able to watch all my favorite shows, and it made me feel like that when I was reading the book.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Not only that, but at the end, you have reading comprehension exercises at the end. There's educational activities, and I can tell you were really strategic and thoughtful about the design of the book and how you created it. And it was apparent to me that the book was created by an educator.
Hmm.
Uh,
And
yeah, very much so. You thought of things that some other authors probably would have overlooked in the design of the book and then providing those extra enrichment activities at the end. So, can you talk about kind of what the process is you go through in creating each one of the books and what is your intention behind it?
sure, sure. Well, once again, thank you, Jonathan. I am just grateful for the opportunity to share the message of Peace Be. And just to give you a little idea what motivated me to write it. Like you mentioned, I am a mom with three young kids and I'm an elementary school teacher. And I got the idea of Peace Be in 2005, but I didn't do much with it. I just had the idea. And in 2010, when I became a teacher, I saw there were different character traits, were the 8 character traits that Peace Be is all about, but there were no set books to describe what those character traits mean. So then I was like, why don't I write a book with each of those character traits? And at the time, my kids were younger. So they were, Dora was very popular. And I realized that kids like structure. They like to know, oh, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. So it gave me an idea of how to organize the series, always introducing Heart Watch, Peace Be not understanding what a specific character trait means, and then going on this really fun adventure. And by the end of the story, having a clear understanding of what that means. And just like you mentioned, I took it a step further since I am in the schools. And I didn't just want the kids to learn a valuable lesson that would apply to their lives, which is super important. I also wanted to make sure they understood what they read. So that's where that reading comprehension component comes in the back of every story, just so kids can get familiar with speaking what's on their mind, because some kids know exactly what happened, but it's hard for them to articulate it.
Right.
Writing activities and things like that. So me being a mom and a teacher is what inspired me to write these stories. And then there's definitely a need for it. There's so much negativity in this world. And I believe with all my heart, despite our differences, good parents want to instill these character traits in their kids. So I just developed a resource to make it easy and fun for them.
Okay. Okay. And what I loved about it was not only does the book series teach lessons to make each child a better person, but it's also designed to make your child a better reader.
Hmm.
And that's something I observed with the book, and I was pleasantly surprised at the end with the additional enrichment provided, because uh, it's also going to help your child learn to improve their comprehension and to be intentional about how they go about reading a book. If a child reads one of your books and gets to the end and sees the questions, and the parent actually goes through, or a teacher goes through those exercises with the child, they know when they read the next book in your series, that's going to be at the end. So it's going to affect how they read the book from beginning to end when they go through the book, because they'll be thinking and anticipating the questions and exercises at the end.
Also, and I love that you even brought that up, because the message is so important about character. And I've done a few interviews over the years, but that's the first time bringing that up, which is so important, the reading comprehension part, because I truly believe readers are leaders. And just digging a little deeper, so it's like you're getting the best of both worlds. You're teaching your kids character, and at the same time, you're also checking their reading comprehension and getting them to speak and write and things like that. So thank you for
Absolutely.
noticing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for writing it.
Thank you.
So also, I'd also like to discuss, because I too am a published author, and I just finished my first children's book, which is Finding My Why, a book about
Which is
purpose.
amazing.
Thank
Amazing,
you.
by the
Thank you
way.
so much. And so when I wrote that book, I had an intention as well, which was I wanted to inspire kids to think about purpose sooner in life, and
Mhm.
to think about purposeful living, and also understand that their lives have meaning. And a lot of that was tied to my experience as a Black male, because a lot of things that are going on in the world right now, and some of the experiences I have in life, it can cause you to think that maybe there's not as much significance or meaning to your life when you're a person of color and you watch the things that people of color go through, right?
Mhm.
So my thought was, what are children now thinking? It's we as adults, we watch and we see things going on with George Floyd and police brutality, and Ahmaud Arbery, and young Black males being, you know, pulled over and treated uh, poorly in poor ways by police officers who are supposed to protect them. When we see those things happening, what are young kids thinking about themselves when they watch these things happening in the world, right? So to me, books that help kids feel good about themselves are extremely important, and anything that can provide hope to
Mhm.
kids, I think, is extremely useful and valuable, particularly right now. So your book, like mine, involves a main character that is a young Black boy, a person of color, and I was very intentional in making the main character a Black male, because I believe that that particular demographic really needs that encouragement right now, and for them to be able to see themselves in a character and have a positive role model is extremely valuable and important. That does not mean that the book is only for Black boys or only for people of color. And I want to make that clear to people, is I think our society really needs to move beyond only subscribing to things of people that look exactly like them, and being able to see ourselves in one another. And, growing up as a Black person in a predominantly white, country, I've seen movies, books with no one in the story that looks like me.
Hmm.
But I've been able to take something positive from those stories and learn and identify with the characters, because we're all human beings.
Exactly.
So, that's something I want to be really intentional in mentioning about these books, is that these books can benefit everybody, even though the characters and the families in the books might be people of color. The books are for everybody and can be beneficial to the character and development of every child. Can you speak to
Sure.
your mindset on all of that and how it played into your creation of the Peacebe book series?
Sure. Yes, I definitely will. So that's a lot, and I'm glad you touched on that. because I have my thoughts about it and my intention behind making Peacebe the way he is and having his friends. So I'll just go ahead and start from the beginning. I had the idea of Peacebe in 2005, but it was, like I said, just an idea. My brother, David Campbell, he's the illustrator. He's the one who created, thank God, because he's the one who created the whole world. And at the time, I didn't know, like, okay, how should Peacebe, how should he look? Should he be a color? Should he, because sometimes people only gravitate towards their color, and what I realized at the time, my son was 3 years old, and I decided I wanted my son to be able to look in a book and see himself. And we actually used him as a reference. Now, there's a mole on Peacebe's eye. My son has a mole on Peacebe's eye. My brother actually had him have his heart watch and like pose, and he's the reference for Peacebe. And why did I do that? Just because I want my kids, no matter the color of their skin, I want them to, my own children, I want them to be able to look at people or in stories, kids in stories, and find encouragement. And with Peacebe, you can find it in Peacebe, but you can also find it in his friends as well, if that makes sense. And that's me as a mom. Me as a mom, having my 3 kids, 2 of them being boys, wanting them to be able to have a positive role model to look up to. At the time, I didn't see any of it. I mean, we were watching Dora, Paw Patrol, Wonder Pets, and I love all those shows, and that's, but I'm like, well, hey, I have this idea for a cartoon. My son's 3 years old. Let me use him as a reference, However, I'm a teacher, and I teach kids from all different backgrounds, and I love my kids. My students, when I say kids, I love my students. I don't see color. They don't see color when they're playing with each other. It's over time when all that stuff happens. You know what I'm saying? So it was very important for me to, one, make Peacebe the leader, because I look at my son as a leader and I want him to believe that he is a leader. It just so happens to be that, that we're Black. However, I want him to have a positive role model, whether he's Black or white or Spanish or anything, somebody with good character. Like Martin Luther King, it says, it's like, we judge people by their character, by their heart. It's not about the color of their skin. So as a mom, I wanted Peacebe to be able to, my son to be able to identify with a positive role model. But as a teacher, I wanted to be intentional and make sure that Peacebe had friends from all different backgrounds. And believe it or not, Jonathan, sometimes we lose people there, and I found myself, I'm finally finding my voice. I found myself trying to please everyone. But at the end of the day, I have to be true to who I am. And at the end of the day, I have friends that are from all different backgrounds. I have family members from different backgrounds, because I genuinely look at people's heart, and I don't get racism at all. I don't get it. Obviously it does exist. And everybody has their lane and everybody has their role to play in making this world a brighter place. For me, I'm very passionate about character, and character goes across all boards. You know what I'm saying? And I love children. I love children, and my heart behind Peacebe is to teach children that no matter how different we are, when we work together, we can do amazing things. And that applies to adults as well. And it seems so simple. It's literally something you learn in kindergarten, no matter how different you are, when you work together, you can do amazing things. But as adults, look how many people have missed that memo. You know what I'm saying? And I realized there's more people like me in this world. I'm not the only person that looks at people's heart. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to light up the darkness, and and teach kids the importance of having good character in a fun way. And Peacebe is just the vehicle that we're using right now.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, it is a phenomenal vehicle. I'm really pleased with the book series and what I've seen from it. And, I really am behind you 100% with increasing the exposure of this book, because I think it really can be beneficial to our kids to, have exposure to these lessons and character traits early on in life and really start to focus on, especially in an area of social media and information travels so quickly. You
Mm-hmm.
know, right now we have a generation of kids who are being raised and having a digital footprint as kids that's
Mm-hmm.
going to impact them as adults. So their character choices are even more relevant now and even more important because it's going to follow them. We didn't grow up with having a digital footprint when we were kids. You know,
That's
we can
true.
make mistakes and be free and mess up and then it'd be forgotten and we can move on, right?
True.
Now, you know, a kid can go online and think it's private and say some things or do some things that they shouldn't, and someone could bring it up later and question their character when they're trying to get a
Mm,
job or pursue their dream.
very true.
So it's imperative now more so than ever that we teach our kids good character at an early age so that they have a great foundation for making life choices and decisions.
Agreed, 100%. That should be a story. You should about the digital footprint. That's really important. You know what I'm saying? I like that. That's a very, very good point.
Yeah, yeah. So I really commend you, and I think this book is going to do a lot to help in that regard. So I hope millions of more children get exposed to it and are able to benefit from it. So parents have a vehicle to have these discussions with their kids.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So anyway, so we've covered a little bit about your book series, and we'll get more into that later. But this is Life of Legacy, and so our focus is on achieving dreams and how people can make an impact using their gifts. And I think
Mhm.
you're clearly an example of that. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about you
Okay.
specifically and learn about your journey and how you got to a point where you're doing this meaningful work.
Awesome. Okay. Well, to give you an idea, I was raised by a single mom. I have four brothers and a sister, so it's six of us. My mom is an amazing mom. Growing up, we didn't have much financially. She was working three jobs. We all started working at a very young age. I started working at 12 years old, and it seems so long ago. Like, it seems like, yeah, right, but it's true. But all of us started working at a young age. And from it, I learned responsibility. My mom was big on character. I believe that's what inspired the Peacebe series. Now that, when you look back, she always says, she was big on respect. She did not tolerate disrespect, basically. And it was all in love. And one thing I noticed, what the kind of message that she, instilled in us is character is more important than gold. You know what I'm saying? You can't put a price on your character. And growing up, four brothers, one sister, my mom, at work a lot. Um, you you learn about yourself. You learn about others. Each of us, all six of us, have completely different personalities. You know what I'm saying? And it's something to be embraced. Let's see, where else I went to college. I went to the University of Florida. I started questioning my faith at the end of graduation. And long story short, I have, what gets me through life is my faith in Jesus. I love the Lord. And, for years I felt shy to say that. And literally, like, this is the first time I've done an interview that I'm saying that, because guess what? That's my foundation. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have that's I can only speak for myself. And it's been a 15-year journey. And there's been ups, there's been downs. That's a whole other story. But through it all, God has been there. And I believe that there's a scripture in the verse in Matthew chapter 5, verse 14 through 16 says, we're the light of the world. And I don't know the exact words, but we're not meant to hide our lights, but we share our light. And then what happens, people get curious, like, with all this negativity in the world, what are you smiling for? What are you excited for? Don't you see what's happening? But the thing is, it's not about me. You point others to your source. You know what I'm saying? We're just a vessel. I believe that, I'm just a vessel here to do God's work. And God has put it on my heart to share the message of having good character, along with many other things. Like, I got a lot of ideas. Peacebe is just the one that I share right now, but everything is in God's time. So I'm very passionate about living your purpose. And that's what you mentioned, that's a lot what your podcast is about. And teaching kids that from a young age, and your story of finding your why, teaching that from a young age is amazing. I know people that are 40, 50, 60 years old, and they still don't have their purpose. They don't know, you know what I'm saying? So teaching them that at a young age is very important. And I'm all about shining light, loving people, living your purpose, and just, it doesn't mean I don't have bad days. I'm not trying to act like everything's perfect. I'm human at the end of the day, and life gets hard, like very hard sometimes. But at the end of the day, you don't stay down, and you remember what you're here for. And that's really what it's about. I believe the world would be a much better place if people tapped into their talents, people were more vulnerable and shared their testimonies, and just realize that iron sharpens iron. Some of the things I've been through, you might, that people go through, you might think you're the only one, but you realize once you open up that many people have had tough times in their life. But the key is not to let it hold you down, and find a way to find the good in whatever it is that life throws at you. And yeah, so that's basically, that's a little bit about me, but I just really want to do God's work. And when I'm not here anymore, just want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. So that's what it's all about.
Wow, I didn't know you were going to take us to church this
I'm
morning,
sorry,
Leneen.
it's in my heart.
Wow, that was so powerful. Thank you so much for going there. And I know you said you don't usually, but I'm so glad you did, because I have that same experience. And, matter of fact, I have someone that I partner with that she made the comment that, hey, you talk about God a lot, right?
Mhm.
And as someone who is a business person, I have a business, and I'm also an author.
Mhm.
Sometimes if someone is thinking strategically, they think, oh, well, maybe you don't want to alienate anybody.
Mhm.
My entire life revolves around purpose and how I believe God is using me.
Amen.
So if that's my center and that's my focus, why am I going to be shy about
Exactly.
talking about God when I'm just a vessel? I'm a tool that God is using to impact other people and impact the world. Every gift I have is from God. Every choice I make, I pray on. Every major decision. So I strive to align my entire life with God. So it's only natural. It's not even, I don't even think about it. I talk about God because like it's part of my life. It's part of my identity.
Exactly.
So if that alienates some people, then I'm probably not for those people. I have to
Exactly.
be okay with that,
Mhm.
because my purpose is bigger than all of it.
I
So,
agree. Oh,
yeah, so thank you for, I appreciate you opening up and going there, because I think it's something we should do more often. And I think people of faith should be bolder about talking about their faith and the source of everything they do and the why behind what they're doing and how they live their lives. And you talked about vulnerability and being able to open up to people, because one of the things, I think a bad rap that follows some people of faith is that we pretend like maybe we've got it all figured out, and maybe pretend like we're perfect, because I think there's a fear of showing your weaknesses and your flaws,
mhm.
because people sometimes forget that you don't earn your place with God. You don't earn anything. It's grace, by grace.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
you don't have to be perfect. It's known that none of us are perfect, no matter how we
Exactly.
try to hide it. Everybody already knows we're all going through something. And when
Mhm.
you share that journey, you serve as an example to other people of, hey, you're not alone. You're not the only person going through this. You're not the only person with flaws.
Mhm.
And God can bless you, and God can take you through it, regardless of anything that you're going through.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. I agree 100%. And it's interesting because, this I've always, loved God. However, this is just literally recent. Today's the 29th, within a month ago. And I'll just share this to say that, like I said, I've done interviews in the past and I've never shared it. I always shy away from it. But November 29th, I was at church and I just remembered someone singing, and it really, really touched me. And the words, "We give you all the glory," we give, that song, "We worship you, O Lord, you are worthy to be praised." And when she sang those words on November 29th of this year, it hit me hard because I write Peacebe and I'm a teacher, so everybody has different beliefs and you have to respect that at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
That's why Peacebe focuses on character, respect, responsibility, and that goes across despite your beliefs. But I have friends of all different faiths. I have friends of different backgrounds, and I don't judge them for their beliefs. But I found myself so quiet because I don't want to offend anyone. And then that's not authentic. I'm not being authentic if I'm hiding behind it. So when she said that, it was a whole other thing. And I decided that day I was going to get baptized. I've been baptized about 8 years ago, but been through a lot in life, and God put it on my heart to get baptized. And that was just a month ago, and I got baptized on Sunday. And I share all that to say, that was only 2-3 days ago. And here I am with an interview with you, and it just comes natural. Because why would if I were to sit here and say, give credit, which I did in the past, I have amazing mentors that I've learned so much from, but I'd hide behind those mentors. Yes, I've learned a lot from them. Don't get me wrong. I've learned there's a lot of stuff on this earth that we need to learn and be smart and partner with people that can, teach you. And it's okay for me to credit mentors, but I found myself being quiet to credit Jesus. I'm like, that's not right. That's not right, because there's so my thing is, it's not about preaching or anything. It's who I am. And I believe that we're here to light up the darkness. And one thing, Bob Marley, best quote ever. And I always share this. I don't know if you know this, but Bob Marley was shot, and he decided to the next day go ahead and still perform his concert. And the person interviewing him, they said to him, how could you go ahead and do a concert when you were just shot the other day? And he said, the people doing evil in the world never take a day off. Why should I light up the darkness? And that, and Matthew chapter 5, verse 14 through 16 are the things that motivate me to be a light in a dark world. And I believe we do that through our talents, through our purpose, and just sharing our testimony.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I agree with you 100%. It is so important for us to not take a break, keep pressing forward. And, the people there's so many good people in the world, but sometimes we're too quiet.
Yep.
Exactly. And the people who are spreading hate and evil, they don't take a break, and they're not quiet.
You're right.
And now more so than ever, they're very loud. And they don't hold any reservations about speaking what they believe and what they think should be going on in the world. So why should we? Why should we? We are God's instruments to shine that light.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so thankful for you being willing to talk about that. Congratulations on your baptism, and
thank you.
That is a wonderful, wonderful story that you shared here. And I'm so thankful that you were willing to open up about that and share that, because I'm sure that touched a lot of people.
Amen. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
So on that note, I want to talk more about what's in store with you in the future. What visions and ideas do you have for the Peacebe book series, other book series, things that aren't books that you want to do, all of that. So I'm going to take a brief break, and we're going to come back and talk about what's in the store and what's in the cards for you going forward. All right.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Life of Legacy, your key to a better life. We're here with Leneen Faith, author of the Peacebe Kids book series, and she's been sharing with us about her journey to becoming an author, the purpose behind the creation of the Peacebe book series, and we want to learn a little bit more about Leneen and how she became both a teacher and an author. So, Leneen, let me ask you about your childhood. What were your gifts as a child? Like, what were you good at? What were your passions? And then tell me a little bit about what happened in your life to help you stay aligned with your strengths and your passions in life.
Awesome. Well, yes. So for me, I've always loved kids, even being a child myself. Like I said, there are six of us, so my mom was working a lot, and I realized my two younger siblings, they weren't reading at the level that I felt that they should be reading. And I believe I was like probably 10 years old at the time. I was 10, so that made them 7 and like 5. And I took it upon myself to teach them how to read, both of them. And that wasn't something my mom asked me to do. It was just something that I felt that there was a need to do because I noticed that there was an issue. And that is one of the earliest memories that I have of me, wanting to be a teacher. When I went to college, I love people and I like to help people, and I decided, why not be like a child psychologist? But then as I got to know myself a little bit better, I'm too connected, and it probably wouldn't be the best for me. So then I'm like, you know what, let me go back to what I felt when I was a little girl. So I decided to, I finished my degree at UF with psychology, knowing that I was going to go back to receive my master's in elementary education, because my brother, he was like my father, always sound advice. I have 4 of them, but my brother Leighton, I always called him if I needed advice. And I'm like, it was like my last year of college. I'm like, I can't be a child psychologist. I think that would like make me, that's not a good thing for me. And he said, Leneen, just go ahead and graduate, finish your degree. And then if you want, you can, I think it froze. Are you there?
I'm still here.
Okay, got it. Froze for a second on my end. And if you want, go back and then you can get your degree in elementary education. And that's exactly what I did. And I've been a teacher for the past, I believe about 10 years I've been teaching. And also older, when I was like in 7th or 8th grade, I remember writing a piece, and there was 2 situations. One, the teacher loved it in 8th grade, and she asked to keep it. And I remember after reading it, like the class like clapped and everything. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. 7th grade, however, I wrote a piece, and I remember the teacher called me up, and she was like, Leneen, did you write this? And I was like, yes, I did. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. So I went back to my seat. Sorry, and one of my friends at the time, she was like, I told her what happened. She's like, what? She doesn't believe you can write it? And for me, I wasn't offended, because at the end of the day, I knew I wrote it. So in a way, it's a compliment, you know what I'm saying? So I took it as that. And from at that point, I realized that I do have a knack for writing. And character, my mom was big into character, and I got that memo, the importance of having good character. So when you take those 3 things, character, writing, children, it's no coincidence that I ended up writing The Adventures of Peacebe and the Heart Watch, which focuses on children, which teaches character, and I'm able to use my talent of writing. And that's what inspired Peacebe. I know your book, Finding Your Why, you want kids to know from a young age, well, what is their why? And Yo Gabba Gabba, do you remember Yo Gabba Gabba or no?
I do. You know what? I remember the characters, and
Okay.
I could never forget the song because of the singing, like Yo Gab. Yeah, so
Yes.
Yes, I remember.
Okay, so Yo Gabba Gabba, at the time when my kids were younger, I was watching it, and those shows were pretty cool. And I remember Yo Gabba Gabba at the time, he said something which I can learn from everyone. You have to be humble enough where you don't think, oh, you know everything. You can learn from everyone if you just humble yourself and listen. And Yo Gabba Gabba said something, he goes, boys and girls, do you know what your talent is? Your talent is something that you're good at and something you enjoy. And when he put it as simple as that that's how I share it with children that I encounter, and also adults that might not know their purpose. Let's dig deep. What's something that you like to do? You know, I enjoy writing. I would write forever. Like nobody would ever, like for free. You know, what's something that you would do that you love? And then also, what are you good at? So when you combine those two, it kind of narrows down. And I'm having that conversation with my children, you know, and they're young, of course it changes, but that's like a good start. What are you good at? And what do you enjoy doing?
Okay. Great information. And those are definitely two keys that can be major indicators of, hey, you're operating in your gift, you're operating in your talent.
Mm-hmm.
And in your story that you just shared, a couple of things I noticed was, you know, it requires opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity to try different things, and that exposure to different things to see if you might have a knack for something, right? Because the more things you can get exposed to, the greater the opportunity for you to discover something
Exactly.
gifted in, right? And then also somebody gave you positive reinforcement.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
somebody pointed, a teacher, you said, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you write this? Like, it really stood out to her, and she took the time to go talk to you about it and say, hey, you know, this is amazing. You did a really good job on this.
Mm-hmm.
And you got positive feedback from even classmates, I think you said.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
that positive feedback, whether it's from teachers, parents, peers, it weighs so much. It weighs so much because as a kid, when you do something and somebody's like really impressed by it or amazed by it, do you remember how that makes you feel as a kid?
Yes, it's true. You want to just keep doing it,
You
you
want to
know.
just keep doing it. You're like, how can I do that again? You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
and so you really start to feel great about yourself, and you go further and push harder in that direction, right?
Mm-hmm. Very
So,
true.
yeah. So, you know, I think that people have to remember that, hey, if you notice somebody is doing well at something, give positive reinforcement. You know, it's extremely valuable to helping people have confidence and have the courage to push toward their dream.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So great. So, okay. So that's a great backstory to get an idea that Leneen was actually interested in teaching, even as a kid, you know, working with your siblings. You saw a need and you had that heart to actually want to help,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so
Yes,
you were doing it out of service, right?
exactly.
E-
Exactly.
Even as a kid. But, and you had a knack for explaining things like that you were able to communicate in a way that they learned and absorbed and comprehended what you were teaching, and you were 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean that sounds like a gift to me. Like if you can do that at 10 years old, you know,
It's true.
I mean I'm a life coach and I thought about being a teacher, but I don't think I remember teaching anybody anything at 10 years old.
Got it. Yes, but you know, I'm sure there's. I believe you probably were along the way. Maybe not something specific, but I'm sure many people, you know, learn from you. You just take it back. You might think of something, you know. But
Yeah, possibly. So let me ask you this. So did you have any heroes or role models growing up that inspired you?
my mom, you know, I'm not like big into like, you know, like because like famous people, you don't really know them. You don't know their
Right,
character, you don't know their
right.
heart. People can be whoever they want. But I know my mom. And so for me it was my mom because she went through a lot. You know, that's her story to tell. And she's actually written a book and things like that. But she's been through a lot. And the story of her book is called Crosses to Bear, Love to Share. We all have our crosses to bear. We all have our things that we've gone through in life, but that shouldn't stop us from sharing love with others. You know, it shouldn't make us bitter. It should make us better, you know, and a lot of the things that she's been through, it's like night and day. She's the most, despite everything she's been through, she's the most positive person that you'll ever meet. And in my faith walk, you know, because I question a lot after college. And one thing that, you know, kept me in was, despite everything my mom went through, and, you know, she always gave credit to God. And I'm like, and to be able to successfully raise 6 children by yourself and never taking the credit, you know, and be like, you know, oh, I'm a hard worker, always giving credit to the guy. It's the Lord, it's the Lord. And I'm like, where does this joy come from? Is it, I mean, that's, you know, and that's just she's a perfect example for me of letting your light shine and giving God the glory, because that made me more curious. So the person that is my role model growing up and even now is my mom. She's amazing. So
Wow. Yeah, she sounds amazing. She sounds amazing. And, you know, I can see how she had a dramatic impact on you and where you are today. So, okay, so we've talked about role models and, you know, encouragement that you received and positive reinforcement that helped you be who you are today. But we all also face adversity, right? And we talked about briefly earlier sharing our testimonies and, you know, how that can impact other people, because when people are going through something difficult, it helps to see that someone else has gone through it, and also that there's the other side. You know,
exactly.
you can get through it. So has there been anyone who's discouraged you from pursuing your dream, whether it be teaching or being an author with the book series? Have you faced any discouragement?
Discouragement with not teaching, but with Peacebe. This has been a 15-year journey, 15 years. And so along the way, you know, people with their good intentions, you know, like, why are you, I mean, just give it up, you know, and it's people you love, and it's nothing like, it's never been anything that I've taken offense to, because they weren't given the dream, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I don't take offense to it. I have to humble myself enough to hear where they're coming from. And it wasn't a source of discouragement, because at the end of the day, I know I'm here to please God, not other people. So there was no, and my whole family everybody's been supportive, but it may have been a comment at a time. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody in my circle, and I pray, I hope that nobody has, unfortunately, I know a lot of people do, but your circle should be encouraging you and motivating you. And we're all human, so they might say something here or there that might like hurt your feelings, but I know the heart of my family and my friends. So for me, I haven't had that discouragement. I've had comments here and there, like, I mean, give it up. I mean, you know, it's been forever. Just this is it. What if it was just meant to be in 34 schools and that's it? And guess what? Only God knows that. And I'm fine either way. I've gotten to the point where I'm fine either way, because it's not mine. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
overall, I would say my family and friends have been very encouraging in more than one way, whether it's financially, emotionally, support. You know, it's 15 years sounds like a really long time, and it is, and it sounds weird to say it because it doesn't feel like it's been 15 years, but I had the idea 15 years ago, and it's been a journey that you just do a little each day, and sometimes you need a break. You know, I've taken breaks from Peacebe at times, but for me, if I ever feel anxious or anything, I remind myself of my purpose. Sometimes you have to just step away, you know, because then it becomes so much about this, and it's really not about Peacebe at the end of the day, you know.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
have to realize that, and then you operate in peace. Like, that's how I operate. If I see that I'm not in a peaceful frame of mind, sometimes you just have to step back a little bit so you can come back and get that, you know, second wind. And I've taken a few breaks over the years because it's necessary. It doesn't mean you're giving up, but you have to use wisdom and know when to step back for a little bit.
Self-care.
Exactly.
Yes. Self-care, because
Exactly.
yeah, they always use the analogy of being on an airplane. Oxygen mask comes down. You got to give yourself oxygen first before you can help.
Mm-hmm. Very
So
true.
yeah, we have to take that time to make sure we're strong so that we can continue down the path, right?
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Yeah. So okay, so you've talked about your faith, and it seems that your level of conviction in what you're doing has helped you get through any potential discouragement.
Mm-hmm.
I found that when it's challenging is if you're having a moment of doubt yourself and you're having a down moment and you're questioning yourself, and then that voice comes in and says, oh, why don't you give up already? It's been this long. You need to focus on your job. You need to do this. In those moments of doubt is when those voices are so much louder and they can actually throw you off track and make you give up.
Hmm.
But it sounds to me that your level of belief in what you're doing and conviction about the meaning behind what you're doing kept that from derailing you. It
Exactly.
didn't seem like those voices came at a moment when you were questioning yourself. And so that goes to the importance of knowing your purpose,
Hmm.
knowing your why, and knowing why you're doing what you're doing, right?
Hmm. Very true.
Yeah.
And if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of times those voices come from ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And just questioning yourself and things like that. That at least I can only speak for myself. You know what I'm saying? And as it's funny that you have behind you finding your why, and mine is like remember your why. And as an adult, Damon John is one of a mentor that I look up to, and I've been following him for the past 5 years. And this is actually something that that's something that I purchased from something that he was selling, and not only that, it's in his book Power Shift. And those words, remember your why. Um, and then I read your book recently, Finding Your Why. It's something I want to instill in my children from a young age, because 2020 has been a rough year for all of us in one way or another. And I'm the type of person when, I stay away from the news as much as possible because I internalize it. And I was going like all the craziness that was going on, I just had to tune it out. However, I remember, reading Power Shift and those three words, remember your why, really knowing your why. And I have more than one why, but my purpose, my three children is what reminds me that you have to keep going. You know what I'm saying? And just remembering your why really helps you on those tough days. I mean, we're all human. Life gets hard. You don't want to deal with people at times. You just want to shut everything out. We're all human. We all go through it. And however, it's important not to stay there, and
Yeah.
how you get out of that dark spot is to remember your why, to remember your purpose. So I love what you're doing as well. Teaching that to children from a young age is amazing.
Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing that. So let me ask you, so one, I would like to ask you, what is the biggest adversity you faced? Whether it's tied to the book in your dream or whether it's just, in life, what is the biggest adversity you faced? And then what practices do you have that help you get through it? Because you talked about remembering your why. And, I want to see if we can give people something practical that they can take and actually use to help them remember their why, stay grounded in their faith. What was your adversity? And then how did you specifically get through it and find your way through it?
That's a good question. You see, like it's hard to answer in terms of, my biggest adversity, because some things that I've been through, people might be like, whoa, but I was able to, I can only talk about currently, if that makes sense. So like right now, what is my biggest adversity right now? Building a solid foundation. And that's what I'm working on right now. Right now, it might seem so simple, and you talk about practical. For me, and it might seem so simple, but I truly believe that you have to be responsible with the little before you can be blessed with a lot. Little things like keeping up with the laundry, doing the dishes, having a system in place for, what people consider little is actually really big, because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Being able to stay fit, getting my daughter active, these all seem little, but yes, Peacebe is a huge part of who I am and the other goals and dreams that God has given me. That's not my foundation. Waking up at 5 a.m. and spending time with the Lord, that's the biggest part of my foundation, because it orders my steps for the day. Spending time with my kids, it really boils down to a schedule. And that's like once I'm going to write a whole book on the importance of following a schedule, because the days that I follow a schedule, the days that the seasons where I'm in a flow of following a schedule, you accomplish the most. How do I follow a schedule? I have so many journals, and I literally write my day down by the hour, and then I check it off. So I'll just share with in terms of being practical. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like when we're able to do the little, what seems little, and we take ownership, and I did a post on this morning. We're disciplined and we're consistent in the little. And when we're blessed with the big, then we've already created that habit. So for me, that is the biggest challenge, because it's something that I see myself going back to here and there. Like at the end of the day, I know me, you know, and people may say, well, Leneen, you've done this. And I'm like, oh, I'm really trying to work on that foundation of consistency and discipline. It doesn't mean it's perfection, you know, schedule in a time for a nap, schedule in a time but don't go overboard. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For me, it's like, we're all human, you know, and guess what? If I never arrive, at least I'm trying. That's all. But I know that the day, and you never get to the point where you arrive, you're always learning on this journey. But I'll just share with you really quickly, in terms of practical, one of my favorite verses is write the vision, make it plain. It goes down to your schedule. So today, I knew I was meeting with you, and little things, take my son to basketball practice. I get to check it off. Pick up his friend. I get to check it off. Oh, I'm starting my day and I got some checks. Okay, prepare for this. Check. And then
I love it.
You know, but it's really, for me, building discipline and consistency is something that it's a challenge, but I'm in a season in my life where I'm ready, you know, to like conquer this. And it's been years, but all I could do is just trust God and just keep trying. So hopefully that helped. But it really boils down to, you know, sticking to a schedule, because I found for me that there's freedom in structure.
Okay.
There's freedom in structure. And if you're able to stick to a schedule, then you're able to spend time with your family, you know, spend time with the Lord, take care of yourself, do the laundry, do the dishes.
Yes.
But then when you kind of go overboard in one area, and then it's like the weight of the world, it's like, be disciplined and consistent, stick to that schedule, and then that's where you find your peace.
Yes. And see, you said that was simple, and you thought that was simple. That is so powerful. Like what you just went over. And sometimes the simplest things are the things that will cause the most shift for you. Life is not complicated. And that's the thing that people miss, is people expect something complicated. When they're looking at the keys to success and how to push forward, they expect it to be some sort of algebra, or complex equation. Right. It's not. It's the simple things, and being attentive to the simple things, and diligent, and like you said, having discipline with the simple things. And so you were preaching to the choir with the schedule thing, because that is one thing that if people could implement it, it would literally change their lives and their productivity, just by first figuring out what needs to be done, prioritizing what needs to be done so you know what's important, and then assigning a time on your schedule to get it done, because there's so many interruptions in life, especially your wife and a mom. We know what happens during the day. If you don't have a schedule and you don't have a plan and you don't have any boundaries, there's people pulling you from the right, from the left, from all directions to do things, because everybody needs something, right? That schedule is the foundation and the structure for you to have boundaries and know when to say no. I can't do that at this time because I'm scheduled to do this.
Exactly.
I'm scheduled to be here. And that's how you make sure the important stuff gets attention, and that you don't spend time chasing things and just kind of reacting to the environment, right?
Exactly.
Very, very powerful. So I heard a few things in there. I heard you talk about vision. So you make the vision plain. So write down what you want to see. What are you wanting to create with your day, with the week, in the future? Write it down. And then assign times, which means make a schedule. Assign times when you're going to think about how long it's going to take you, and really block out a time and assign that period of time to get your task done, so that you, like you said, check them off.
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss anything?
No, the other big thing that I'm working on as we speak is, fatigue. It's something that I struggle with, and I'm going to, I've got to a point where I'm like, well, this is just me, but I'm not going to accept that. I'm going to, faith and work, faith without work is dead. So I do need to, and I am going to in January, just watch the foods I eat, take supplements and be disciplined and consistent with that, because you can have the best schedule in the world, but when your body has shut down, then it creates a whole bunch of other things. So for me, the biggest struggle is something that I'm dealing with as we speak, is an issue of fatigue. People can't really tell because when when you're on, but however, being disciplined and consistent to address that. And how do you do it is just the same steps that I mentioned. So I have my little list of how to fight fatigue.
Okay. Yeah. And you have to be disciplined with that, like we said, because we talked about self-care, right?
Exactly.
What is your self-care routine? Because you talked about
remember the little things that that's part of the little things that I'm working on, and I'll share with you. This is literally because remember, I'm a teacher and we're on winter break. So I love winter break and summer, because I'm able to just be able to implement the self-care and be able to implement the things that bring me peace. And, the trick is, how do you do that when you are back at work? And that's what I'm working on. But I'll share with you what I do. I wake up in the morning. I also, I write in my journal. I go running. I run maybe about a mile or two, and God puts a lot of quotes on my heart while I'm running. That's part of my self-care, because you want to be good on the inside, make sure your mind is right. And I started something recently, which is right over here. I started something recently where I wake up in the morning and it's a goal card. And basically it's like I am statements. You know what I'm saying? I am consistent. I am joyful. I am, just the things that, I am filled with abundant energy that, I might have fatigue. I might not, so I want to combat it with the things that I am, and repeating my goals. This is something I started probably about a month ago. And I've this whole break so far, I've been able to do it daily. And writing down, something I recently started is writing down what I'm grateful for. We're human, we get in a funk. And I'm like, I don't want to stay in a funk. I know what happens when I just stay in a funk. I know how that day is going to go. How can I combat this? Because I'm over it. And what I did is I wrote down everything that I'm grateful for. Not everything, because that's just a tip of the iceberg.
Right.
And I even made a post about that. I realized, and I've been reading it every day, the things I'm grateful for. And I realized there's no way in the world I would want to trade what I'm grateful for the things that I'm waiting for. You know what I'm saying? So it made me realize the power in gratitude and being grateful for. There's so much to be grateful for. We take for granted that we have a roof over our head, that we have food, that we have clothes. It seems so simple, but this is how I talk to my kids, because that's what, like, people miss the memo. We are just so blessed. You know what I'm saying? When you just sit down and you write what you're grateful for, and for the past week, I've just been reading that, and it really got me out of a funk, and it's something that I want to practice daily. Just reading those goals, those I am statements, reading what I'm grateful for, taking time to walk and write is what I like. People might like other things. Find out what you love and go do that. Do more of what you love, and those are the things that help me with my self-care.
You are just, I could listen to you all day long. You are unloading. And this is just from sharing your own practices, but this is what it takes. You've had a journey 15 years long with the book series, and you've got a tangible manifestation of your vision and your dream, right? You're living it now. And so for those of you who are listening, who are wondering how you can do that, she's given you all the information, right? She's talked about scheduling, planning. She's talked about discipline. She's talked about self-care, having a routine, making sure, she runs. She feeds herself. She has affirmations. I talk about that as well. That's huge, because the things you say to yourself are critical to making sure that you keep a positive mentality and a positive mindset when you're when you're trying to achieve a goal, so that when
Mhm.
you hit adversity, and you will hit adversity, you have the mental strength to push through that. So you using those affirmations, it seems little, but it's huge.
Mhm. I
So
agree.
you're programming yourself, and making sure you're proactively programming your thoughts, your inner thoughts about yourself.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's powerful. And this is something I want to give, credit where it's due. Ultimately it's God, but God will put people in your lives. And, probably as in June or July, I was on Instagram and I saw something pop up with Les Brown, and make a long story short, I ended up, being a part of a program that he was doing. It's called Power Voice, and uh, John Tellerico is the person that put him and Les Brown. They do it together, and it was such an amazing experience to be part of it. It's a 7-week program, and I learned so much, because for me, I learned so much from Les Brown, because I've been through a lot, but you don't necessarily have to go there. And you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you want to encourage other people. And I learned so much there. And one thing that I did learn was from John, the importance of having a goal card, and just saying those I am statements. And it's something that many people practice, but I never heard it the way that he put it. And it's something that I've been practicing. So I'm big on relationships, and you're going to meet people along your journey. Some people are there for a reason, a season, a lifetime. I'm grateful for everything that I learned in that season of my life, because it's helping me to be who God is calling me to be. So I definitely recommend doing that, like doing a goal card, and doing waking up and saying what you're grateful for. It's a very, very powerful.
Okay. And you also just gave another example, because you're constantly seeking information.
Exactly.
You've talked
Exactly.
about Damon John, Les Brown. You're pulling from people who have this knowledge, so that you can implement strategies and actually practices in your life that can help you be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you seeking out that information is also probably a big key for your success, right?
I agree 100%. One of my favorite verses, iron sharpens iron. There's a lot of verses. I'm like, this one's my favorite, this one. But iron sharpens iron is so true. And I have learned so much from Damon John. I learned so much from Les Brown, so much from John Tellerico, and so much from my family and friends. Even the post that I've seen you posted, I've learned from it. I learned from my students. My goddaughter, like, she is amazing. She's like super talented. My children, you learn so much if you just open your eyes. I'm very observant, and not everybody has that. Um, Not everybody desires to learn, because some people are just set in their ways, and they just think that their way is it. So I even learned from that, because I realized I don't want to be like that. I want to always be learning from others, and that's 100%. I think mentorship is key, and I can learn from anybody, because you
Yeah.
learn the good and the bad, and you learn what you want to do and what you don't want to do, and you want to tap into like, if you want to be a figure skater, tap into the mind of the best figure skater there is. Get to know that person, build a relationship with that person. Damon John, I bring him up because I've been following him for 5 years, and I learned a lot from the book Power Shift. One day I believe God is going to, he's blessed me with ideas, and I'm going to have to learn how to be a business owner, so tap into someone that owns a business that you can learn from, and just following those people. We live in a world where things are just at your fingertips. So many people post so many inspirational stuff and give away free information, but it's like, are you tapping into it?
Yeah.
And then also, once you develop, and you realize that you're learning, then if you want to invest, then that's your choice. But at the end of the day, there's so much knowledge out there. And for me, like you, I pray about everything. So if something doesn't feel right, I don't do it. And if it does, then I pray about every decision I make. But I'm just grateful for the mentors that I've had along the way. And it's not just, I learn from everybody. I don't feel like there's a this level and a this level. We're all here and we're all on this journey of life together, and we can learn from each other if we're humble enough. If I can learn from my kindergarten students, then it's like, yeah, I can go on forever, but we can learn from everybody. So that I'll leave it at that.
Now, we can. Now, I heard you mention journaling earlier.
Yes,
Do you,
yes.
do you meditate?
Recently, one of my friends, that was like and I thought about it this morning, about 2 years, a year and a half ago, she, because I need practical steps. Like, what does that mean, meditation? I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know what that
Right.
means.
What
So,
is it? Yeah.
right. So it means something different for everybody, but the
Yeah.
way she broke it down for me, I was like, whoa. And ever since then, I've been doing it. Basically, she was saying, after you read and you pray, then just for 10 minutes, or however long you want. She didn't put a time. I do 10 minutes. Close your eyes and just try not to think about something, but we're human. So we're going to think things are going to pop in our heads. You know what I'm saying? So that's my form of meditation. Like, I'll just be quiet. I set my alarm for 10 minutes. And I see it as a Holy Spirit, whatever's put on my heart at the time, I just write it down. And there's times when I'm in a season in my life where I'm just trying to obey that still small voice. And, because we can spend time praying, thanking God, asking God, but are we listening? And that's my way of, just to listen.
Mhm.
I know a lot of it's in his word, 100%, and we meditate on the word. So it's meditation comes, because I can be going through something and I could read something in the Bible and it's like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? So but for me, how do I meditate? It's 10 minutes after I read and pray. I just try to just shut it down, and whatever pops in my heart at the time, I just write it down. And we're human. So sometimes it might be your own thoughts, but if you're going on faith and you think it's, just go operate on faith. I always pray, God, if that's not from you, close that door. And if it is, then open it. But at least I'm going to do my part to be obedient to what I believe is, that still small voice of the Holy Spirit.
So what are the biggest benefits of journaling and meditation for you? Like, what do you see? How does it help you in life? What do you see manifest from that in your life? What are the benefits?
The benefits, it's like you're tracking your life. You know what I'm saying? And then you can see, like, I recently started something where, I'm tracking my mood, the food, just tracking things. So then when you realize, okay, well, or the food you eat, the extra, okay, well, I've eaten junk for like 4 days straight. Let me kind of switch it up. So that's one form of journaling, but I have different journals for everything. Like, I have like 5 different journals, one for my things to do. I have one for my prayers. I have one for my, it's things to do, prayer, church notes, dreams. I think it's 4. So I have different ones for different things, and it just helps keeps me organized. I don't really necessarily go back and read it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But for me, it keeps me on track. And it brings peace. I never used to write my prayers. I did that in a tough season in my life in 2018, and then it's just become a habit since. So writing out my prayers for me, and when I went back and I read, I should go back and read it, but when I did at one time go back and read it, what was such a dark season in my life at that moment, and just praying for, the situation, and then a year fast forward and seeing God's hand behind the whole thing, it's like you're writing a movie, but it's not a movie, it's your life. So like journaling, it's like you can go back and see all that God has brought you through, which is one last thing I wanted to say. I've had a journal separate from all these other journals, the 4 journals. The 5th one I started in 2015. And I think the last time I wrote it in, it was maybe 6 months ago. But I've tracked every major part of my life in there. And I always said, once Peacebe is a cartoon, then I'm going to share it, because at the end of the day, it's going to be giving God the glory, and it's going to share the ups and downs. And when I go back and read that journal, it's inspiration. And it reminds me that if I'm going through a tough time, God's going to pull me through it. And if he doesn't, there's time. People think that there's people that I prayed for and they passed away. You know what I'm saying? It's not that you get every single prayer that you get. That's not how God works. But over time, I've realized that no matter in, sickness and in death, in a little, God is with me through every step. And it's been a 15-year journey, and I can finally say I have peace about that. And journaling is, you can look back and see that for me, I see the hand of God throughout my life. And just talking about with this, it makes me want to go back and start reading some of those.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. How long have you been journaling for?
Oh, wow. Years. And on and off, I have to be honest and being in the interest of transparency. I do have periods where I get off track with my journaling, and I go back and I'm like, wow, it's been that long since I journaled.
Right.
But I pray and meditate daily, because it gives me clarity, and I'm very analytical. And so it's important for me to have a brain dump and kind of just, journaling gives me a brain dump. And I think praying and meditation praying gives me a brain dump too, because I'm giving it to God. Right. So
Exactly.
all those worries and contemplations, I just kind of downloaded and give it to God, and then trust, I can only do what's in my power.
Exactly.
And yeah, so it helps relieve that pressure and give me clarity and keep perspective, because sometimes it's so easy to focus on the wrong thing.
Exactly.
And so I think that's the benefit it has for me. And what you just said was very powerful. And I'm thinking I need to journal more, because you're talking about going back and looking at the journey and realizing what God brought you through and being able to see it documented, because we forget so much. There's so much that goes on in life. Some of it leaks out. Most of it leaks out. So having a record of it and being able to see that, hey, I was really worried and I was really down at this point. Look where I am now.
Exactly.
Very powerful. Now, you dropped a little nugget in there, and that's where I wanted, before we close out, I wanted to move toward your future goals and some of the plans and stuff that you have. And I heard you mention a Peacebe cartoon, and that was going to be one of my questions. So can you give us a window into, some people don't like to speak it, but you can speak it if you feel free on this podcast. You can speak it out there. What are some of the visions and dreams you have for Peacebe, or anything outside of Peacebe that you want to accomplish in your lifetime?
There's many, but in terms of Peacebe, it's always been in my heart for Peacebe to become a cartoon. As you know, I'm a mom, 3 kids, a teacher, life. I can't go out there and, I can, and that's a whole other story, because I actually, with God's help, was able to meet with a big executive company. However, there's a lot more involved in it. So recently, in the past year, we've expanded our team. So it's not just myself, my brother, and my other brother. One, David, illustrated the Peacebe world. Paul is the one who invested into Peacebe. We've recently expanded our team to bring in, it's about, right now, it's like 4 more people that have experience in that area, that have, one of the guys has over 17 years of experience with the children's entertainment industry. And to expand your team takes a lot of faith, because, at the end of the day, like, you can't, you don't know people, so it's like, it takes faith to expand your team. It's something I prayed about, and I had peace about the people that we brought on board. And also I mentioned Power Shift again, because it's been a huge blessing to my life. When I was reading Power Shift, Dave and John talked about that specifically, how he had to expand his team while I had to make the decision of expanding our team. And then I said, you know what, if Damon John is where he is today and he had to expand his team, then I'm going to have to expand mine, because there's only so much I can do with where God has me right now as a kindergarten teacher with 3 kids and, life. So we took that leap of faith, and you have to let go. You have to let go and trust that, God has put these people in place for such a time as this, and they're working behind the scenes of pitching that cartoon, and giving good feedback on ways to update that cartoon deck and things like that. And so yeah, the goal is for Peacebe to become a cartoon. However, you know, I have a lot of faith, and at the end of the day, God's will be done. This isn't my end all be all, and I can say that today, but there's times when it's like, oh, woe is me, I've had this idea forever, and what's going on, and you know, it's in God's hands. I'm just the best. God's going to do what he's going to do. That's been my heart desire, and I would love to see it come to pass, because I believe once Peacebe is what I believe Peacebe is going to be, I pray to God that's when I'm alive. I do believe it's going to happen. When it's going to happen, I don't know. I pray to God to be able to see that when I'm alive. And, you know, I believe from Peacebe, it's going to unlock and allow me to do many of the other things that God has put in my heart. So that's why I've seen it through, and I'm going to see it through. I'm going to do everything God puts on my heart to do, because it's not just about Peacebe. This unlocks a lot of good. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be patient and trust that God is in control. He knows everything, and that's all.
You know what I love about you is you think big, and you're not afraid to be bold. And that's an observation I have, because, you know, in order for you to achieve big things, you have to have big visions and aspire towards big things. You mentioned power shift, and you talked about Damon John, and you said, well, if Damon John had to expand and had to bring in more people, then maybe I should do that too. So you looked at somebody who was really largely successful, and you said, okay, well, if they did it and it worked for them, I need to go for that as well, right?
Exactly.
So I love your expansive mentality and your willingness to shoot big and aim high and go for what you want. Not everybody has the courage to do that. And so a big part of what I do with life coaching with Cra-Z-Dreams is to encourage people to think big and dream big and have the courage to do that, because it takes courage to do that, because, you know, there's a possibility you might fail, right?
Exactly.
Then what? So I like that. And I noticed you had a post where you actually tagged LeBron James and his LeBron James school, you know, for the Peacebe book series, right?
Right.
That's a bold thing to do, but
It is.
anything's possible.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
Yeah,
you broke up.
no, I didn't want to cut you off, but I just said anything's possible. I wanted you to finish your thought on that.
Yes, and you know what? One of my best friends in college, I'm going to get there because my brain, one of my best friends in college, she got me this book. It's called The Law of Attraction Planner. And there's parts of it, I've learned a lot from it, and I'm currently using it. You know, and when I got down and I answered a lot of those questions, I realized that my deepest fears and what holds me back is, one, caring about what other people think. And once I let that go, I'm literally talking, it's not like I've been like this forever. We're talking about a couple weeks in. We're talking about a few days in since I've been, you know, baptized, and, you know, and it's not like, we're talking about, you know, I started this, I'm a work in progress. I haven't figured it out. But when I realized and I filled out that information, I'm like, well, why haven't I done the YouTube channel yet? Why haven't I tagged LeBron James, who has a school? Peacebe books are in 34 schools here in Broward County. It doesn't need to just stay in Broward County. He's LeBron James, but he's a human at the end of the day. His school is amazing because there's children in his school, and these kids can use the books. So then I realized, okay, so why haven't I tagged LeBron James yet? Because it might seem crazy. It might seem crazy that a kindergarten teacher from Broward County is tagging LeBron James to get books for I Promise. But then I'm like, well, guess what? Who cares? Who cares? He's either going to respond or he's not. And one thing my mom taught us, which this is one thing she's taught us this from a young age, always ask. The worst someone can do is say no. If he says no or doesn't respond, I'm still going to be alive. I still have a roof over my head. I still have 3 kids that I love, and my husband. It doesn't matter. We sometimes let fear hold us back. And
yes,
and trust me, it was uncomfortable. I'm not sitting here to say, like, it was, I'm like, oh, this is so weird. But then I'm like, I don't care. I don't care, because guess what? It's not about me. One of my very first quote on my personal Instagram page, my very first quote is, your dream is bigger than you. This has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the children at not only I Promise School, the schools across the country. You know, LeBron James is just, you know, a famous athlete that has positively impacted the world in so many ways. He has a mission to help children and a heart to help where he came from. So, you know, there's so many amazing people. You don't have to be famous to be amazing. There's amazing principles. I just happened to tag him because honestly, him and Diddy were on my heart. And I'm in the season, you know, because he has a school in Harlem. I'm in a season where what God puts on my heart, I'm just going to do in obedience, and that's it, not question it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
if it's just a lesson of being obedient, that's what it's all about.
There you
Whatever
go.
the result is, it's all in God's hands.
What if Peacebe was supposed to be part of LeBron's journey with his school and you never asked?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You never know. And I think about that, just like what you're saying. One of the principals, Mr. Dakotas, his wife is amazing, Miss Dakotas. We work together at a school in Fort Lauderdale. And Mr. Dakotas purchased the Peacebe books for his school. At the time, he was working at a Title I school. He got it for kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. That school is a school I'll always remember, because he decided to use those books for kindergarten all the way to 5th grade. I designed it for K through 2nd. He saw something in there. And I remember one time I did a reading at a school, and a 5th grader came up to me, and him and his teacher, and she's like, doesn't he look just like Peacebe? And he was holding his head up high, and he was a kid of character, 5th grade. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you know, God is doing something. And
Yes.
he dedicated an entire mural to Peacebe, and it's there today. And I look at that. If I let fear hold me back, and I was on the season in my life where I was knocking on doors and, you know, talking to principals, if I let that hold me back, there would have never been a mural for Peacebe at that school. I wouldn't have positively impacted those children. And so like you said, you know, who knows what's going to happen with the LeBron James post, but at the end of the day, it's in God's hands. We just have to step out on faith, and the rest is up to God.
There you go. There you go. Well, I'm with you on the Peacebe cartoon series. I believe it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. So right, we're gonna choose to believe, right?
Yes. I believe it too. I do definitely believe it. It's in the making, and I'm excited. I'm excited.
Okay. So as we close, there's a couple of questions I always ask every guest. So before I ask those questions, what is the perfect ending to your story?
To my life story?
Your life story, yes. Like I've heard the Peacebe cartoon, and there's something else that you're thinking about that you haven't mentioned, because I can sense it like under the surface. There's something else that you want to do or you want to happen. I heard you subtly mention a business, and you said if Peacebe becomes a cartoon, I think it will open up another door. So
yes.
what is the ending of your story, your storybook ending? What does it look like?
My story ending is I did everything God put on my heart to do. That's it. Because it's not just one idea, it's many ideas. It's not just, you know, and if when I'm dead and gone, I want to say that I did everything that God put on my heart to do. And I did the best that I could. And that's really what it's about. I want to be known for someone who loved God and loved people and pointed others to the source. And I didn't let fear hold me back. And that's basically it, you know, like that's what it's all about for me.
Well, I think you just answered both of my final questions in in one response,
Oh,
because I typically ask, what is your idea of a meaningful life? And I think you just pretty much expressed that. And at the end of your days, what will Leneen Faith's life represent?
oh, wow. There you go.
And you just wrapped both of them up without me even asking. So I
Awesome.
appreciate that. You have been an amazing guest.
Thank you.
You are extremely inspiring to me. And, you know, your whole energy, when I follow you on social media and I watch your posts, you just have such a genuine feel to you, and such a pureness about you. And I just want to express my appreciation for the work that you're doing and allowing God to use you in the fashion that he's using you, because I am definitely a believer in you and in what you're doing. So please continue. Don't stop. I know you won't, but I'm just my encouragement. Don't stop, because there's people out there like me that need your encouragement. I just published my first children's book, and seeing what you're doing with your book series is very inspiring to me. So I want to thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you for being, an inspiration to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That means a lot. You know what I'm saying? And just hang in there. You're doing awesome. Your book is amazing. And connect with other people, that will help spread the word. And I'm doing the exact same thing. And just your message is powerful, and many people need to hear it. And we just got to keep being the light. And pointing others to our source. So thank you again for this opportunity. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody who's listening, Leneen Faith, Peacebe Kids book series, please support her. Go to her Instagram page. What's your Instagram handle specifically?
Sure. It's Peacebe Kids, all one word. So at PeacebeKids, at Peacebe Kids.
Okay.
And then my personal one is at Leneen Faith.
Okay, wonderful. Reach out to Leneen, support her, support the series. You can buy the whole book series, or you can buy the books individually. So please do that, because this is something extremely positive that needs to be in the hands of every child, regardless of racial background. All right. So thank you so much, Leneen. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully you'll visit us again sometime and give us an update.
I definitely will. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Truly appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye.